3 days of inspiration, content, and connections with fellow executive women at leading retailers and brands. You can't miss the 2021 Women in Retail Leadership Summit. Connect with and learn from inspirational women leaders at this exclusive boutique event from October 11th to the 13th. The safety of our attendees is our number one priority. Go to womeninretailsummit.com for our full event safety plan and to register to attend. We can't wait to see you there.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Editor-in-Chief of Total Retail. I am joined on today's episode by Jonas Stillman, the Director of Store Systems at Office Depot. And we're going to be talking a little bit today about Office Depot and its relationship with Zebra Technologies and how those two companies are working together. So thank you for joining me today, Jonas.
It's a pleasure being here.
To get us started, why don't you give the audience a little context about your role at Office Depot and how it has potentially changed during the last year plus?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So, as the Director of Store Systems, my team is responsible for kind of the four-wall operational capacities in our stores, both store systems, process, and procedures. So point of sale, mobile device technology, store workstation capabilities, our networking equipment. We kind of run the gambit of everything that our store associates use to execute tasks and to run our buildings across the chain. Obviously, we've seen changes in our business over the last 18 months, as have most retailers. There's been a lot of shift in the marketplace to e-commerce and digital platforms from our customers. And really, it's my job and my team's job to make sure that we're facilitating that shift to e-commerce and omni-channel so our stores are able to assist our customers in a seamless fashion.
So as you mentioned, the shifts that have been obviously apparent across not just, I'm sure, Office Depot's business, but any retailer that operates physical stores. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've seen at Office Depot in particular with your customers. And then maybe a follow-up to that is just maybe what the needs of your store associates, obviously the systems that your associates are using and need access to. Tell us a little bit about how those might have changed during this time.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of what my team does, even pre-pandemic, right, is about making the stores easier to operate by leveraging automation and technology. A lot of our processes in the stores are now digital. We base a lot of what we do on our Android platform using our Zebra TC51s that we deployed out to our stores a couple of years ago. And that technology and the investments we put into that technology have really paid out dividends. And, where we saw some of the benefit of that technology, where we had no idea this was going to happen, obviously, a year before COVID started. But when it did start, and us and the entire industry knew we had to kind of shift the way we were helping our customers to be more flexible and contact free. One of the great things that we were able to do was shift a lot of our business to curbside, right? You saw a lot of retailers in the United States and, across the world really that said, this is a space we need to get into immediately, right? We have customers for health reasons, life or death, they cannot enter our building because there is a global pandemic. And we very rapidly, within 2 days, we were able to develop a curbside pickup platform by leveraging our technology through our Zebra TC51s and quick connections that we made to our e-commerce platform to kind of prop up and stand up a curbside pickup program that was a minimum viable product for our customers. So I would say that was kind of the biggest change that we saw up front. And we were able to launch that, literally piloted and launched it chain wide within a couple of days in March of 2020, kind of at the end of March when the effects of COVID really started impacting the industry. As far as our associates are concerned, obviously the number one concern we had for our store associates was their health and well-being, as it always is. It was critical in that time to ensure that not only were we shifting the customer experience, but we had to shift the associate experience as rapidly, right? by providing PPE, face masks, protective gear, a cleaning supply regimen, and being able to provide them with the tools and process and knowledge needed. As we all learned at the very early stages of COVID last year, we wanted to be able to provide them with the processes that were needed to keep them safe and the tools and the equipment needed to keep them safe, which was a big part of what my team also managed last year as well. So in tandem, we were making changes to the customer platforms, mainly through digital, but at the same time, we were doing everything we could to also shift the associates' safety and ensuring that they had the necessary tools and equipment to keep themselves safe and guarded against this pandemic. So
Yeah,
a lot of changes, but I think we did a really fantastic job of implementing them.
no, it's really speaks to the hard work that you and your team and getting this turned around so quickly, piloting and rolled out to your entire store fleet in under a week, which leads into kind of a follow-up question I have for that, Jonas. Obviously, it was necessitated by consumer demand. Customers didn't want to come into your stores. They would be willing to shop curbside. So, okay, that's what they want. Let's give it to them. So customer demand is there for that. Tell us a little bit about kind of getting the employee, the associate in store up and ready using that platform, trained to use that platform, and then kind of that to me sounds like the challenge. And tell us a little bit about your experience there and getting them comfortable using the curbside platform that you put into motion so quickly.
Yeah, that's a great point. And again, kind of going back to what I originally was talking about, a lot of what we do is about process excellence in our stores, and everything that we deploy out to the stores does not get deployed until we have thoroughly vetted it and tested it. Now, in this case, we had a very short period of time to vet it and test it, and we made a lot of leaps of faith. But for us, the best way to grow adoption and to ensure compliance and execution at the store level is to ensure that we're designing a process that fits the store associates' needs and fits how they operate in the first place. You kind of work backwards from the associate experience, right? The same way we would work backwards from the customer experience that we want our customers to have. We do the same thing for our store associates. We knew that there were challenges with store notifications, right? So how do you ensure that the stores are notified when a customer is outside? That are, they're literally parked in a parking space outside waiting for their order. So we worked with some stores in a very rapid fashion, and they provided us some ideas that they thought would make sense. We vetted them very quickly, and we were able to build out a notification process that literally is almost like a text message notification that you would get on your phone, but instead of your phone, the store associates are getting it on their Zebra devices, and it literally is a tone that plays when a customer pulls up outside. It's initiated by the customer when they get to the store. And we actually are able to monitor and measure how well the stores are executing. But it's instead of, it's not just about monitoring and measuring, it's really about giving the stores the tool needed to execute the process. So we would not have been able to do that unless stores were able to say, hey, we think this is what's going to work, right? And we work with a group of stores, test and pilot stores we work with on a normal basis anyways. And we were able to get those stores to provide us with very quick and early feedback. And that's why we were able to shift as quickly as we did. On top of the notification system, we also plugged in some very quick enhancements on the back end that allowed us to pass over the order ID and the order identification, right? So essentially what we did is the core of our curbside program is our buy online, pick up in store program, right? The only difference is instead of pick up in store, it's pick up at curbside. So we made some minor tweaks to the front end, to the customer experience. So when the customer does come up to the store and they notify the store that they're there to pick up their order, the store simply sees kind of a notification, an exception notification that says, hey, this customer is outside, instead of they're going to walk into the store to get their order. So overall, the adoption was pretty quick, but I would say as a normal practice for Office Depot and my team, We always work backwards from what the stores tell us they need. So you inherently have good adoption, right? We don't ever take the approach of, top down, this is what corporate's saying, this is how you're going to do it. That is never effective for large scale retailers. Large scale retailers of our size have to start with the needs of the associate and work backwards from there.
Yeah, getting that input from the associate first, your associate base, and then to your point, working backwards to help them be as effective in their jobs as possible. So those are a couple great examples in terms of the notifications and trying to keep that operational agility that to keep your customers satisfied. This is a challenging time for so many. Leads me into another question, Jonas, in terms of the technology solutions that Office Depot is leveraging to personalize that customer experience, while also, being cognizant of streamlining operations to drive cost savings. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that in terms of your relationship with Zebra. I know that they've been a help there in that regard.
Yeah, they've been fantastic partners, and I alluded to this before. We rolled out our current Zebra platform in early 2019 to the retail stores. I think the supply chain started a little bit before us, where the whole enterprise is on a common form factor now. We have the Zebra TC series devices in all of our stores. Before that, we did have handheld devices, and the challenge we had with our previous fleet really did not allow us, and it didn't enable us to build out a lot of the technology that we knew we needed to build out to gain those efficiencies, right? There were reliability concerns, there were durability concerns. Our previous devices were not Zebra, they were a different manufacturer. We had a lot of challenges with them. We had always had a relationship as a company, we had always had a relationship with Zebra, which was previously Motorola Solutions. And that relationship was continuous in the supply chain. Stores once previously used Motorola/Zebra devices, several years prior to us going back to them. So the relationship was already there, right? And it was kind of built in for us. But when we got to the point where we knew we needed a new device for our stores, we knew the TC series devices made sense, really because they had the durability, they were Android based, they were purposely built for a retail environment. That's what we needed. And what they've been able to do for us, I've already alluded to a lot of the omni-channel capabilities, but everything we do in the store, technology-wise and operations-wise, is done through these devices, right? Where processes we once did for the logistics and the freight offloading that we do in our stores, like any other retailer does, a lot of those processes were kind of manual, and the replenishment processes were manual and paper-based. A good example is our daily replenishment tasks that we used to have in our stores were very manual. The stores actually had to print out these outs worksheets that we had them work, and they literally would go down a list of SKUs, and they'd have to go search for those SKUs. It was literally the same process that was set up in the early 2000s, and it hadn't really been changed because we never had the technology that we trusted to build out an automated platform. What the TC series did for us is it gave us the confidence that we needed to say, we're going to build this new process. We're going to sunset the old process that was highly inefficient, and we're going to trust it moving forward. And, here we are 2 years later, 2.5 years later, actually, and we've sunset every single manual paper-based process we used to do in the stores that related to task, right? There's no more printing of outs reports. There's no more printing of return to vendor worksheets. There's no more printing of damages worksheets. Everything is all digital, and where we could automate it, we did. Where we could leverage data behind the scenes, we are. And we continue to take that approach, right? We can, just because we've made all these changes and improvements over the last 18, 24 months, we didn't stop there, right? We said, where can we continue to chip away at it and chip away at it? And that is reflected a lot in our performance as a company. It's reflected a lot in the performance of our stores. And our customers are also telling us via our Net Promoter Scores that we're doing a much better job of servicing their needs. And a lot of that has been enabled through this technology.
Yeah, and there's multiple benefits, from the time, those processes, the manual process. So I would imagine they're time intensive. So it's you're cutting down on the time required there. So it's freeing up your associates for other kind of more critical tasks.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's then kind of get into a little bit about kind of the business benefits that Office Depot has realized. You've talked about some of them already, Jonas, but maybe if you were going to give an overview of, since you began working with Zebra Technologies, what would you highlight as some of the benefits that Office Depot has realized?
Yeah, listen, I like I said before, we've been a partner of theirs, or they've been a partner of ours in some form or fashion for the better part of the last 20 years. The relationship is definitely a lot closer today. And where we've been able to realize benefits of that relationship is they are responsive in a way that most other technology companies aren't. They have the scale, they have the resources, and they have a very high caliber team that is there when we need them should issues arise. With that being said, we have very few problems with our hardware. I mentioned reliability before was kind of one of our biggest points we wanted to go after when we looked at new devices a few years ago, and we said, we want to replace what we had, which was highly unreliable. We needed something that was reliable. The TC series had been out for a few years. There were a few other retailers that were using it, and they all told us the same thing. These devices are the real deal. The reason why that's so important for us is because of downtime. You have a limited number of devices per store, and when you build your entire operation around a single piece of technology. You have to make darn sure that technology is reliable and it holds up to our environment. And that's why we always came back to what is the most reliable piece of equipment that we can put in our stores, and which vendor can provide us with the support that we need, where if we do have a challenge, or we do want to make a change, or we do want to make enhancements or improvements, we can easily refer back to them. And that was Zebra. It always has been. They were the best when it came to fitting exactly that mold that I described. And where me as a director of store operations and systems, when it comes to ensuring that the stores have the tools that they need to do their jobs, we wanted to make sure that the long-term support infrastructure was there as well. So we actually we have a multi-year deal with Zebra on all of these devices from a support standpoint. And we actually, what's been a really big game changer for us is we do rapid exchange with Zebra, where if we have a device that goes down in a store for any reason, they rapid exchange it. So we have an automatic ticketing process set up where the store opens a ticket within our service desk, and Zebra sends us a device almost immediately. And those devices kind of fly out. The store sends the device out at the same time a new device is coming, and they pass together in the wind, and the store is made whole within 48 hours. That's huge, right? When you talk about downtime and efficiencies and ensuring that stores are always operating at peak productivity, you have to make sure they have the tools and the technology to do that. So the rapid exchange program and the way that Zebra executes it is really second to none. I got to tell you, I mean, they really do a fantastic job of making sure that we're kept whole. And also, again, the ongoing support from our sales team, from our sales director. I speak to them on almost a bi-weekly basis. Sometimes it's 5-minute discussions, just how you doing, what's happening. And other times we talk a little bit longer about kind of what our enhancement horizon looks like, and what's our next big step. Something that we just rolled out, because these devices are so versatile. Something we just rolled out is VoIP on our TC series devices. So actually our entire chain is now running off of the Zebras for telecom, right? Where a lot of our stores had old analog POTS lines, and we were spending a fortune keeping copper wire running into our stores. We've literally just retired all of that, and now we're leveraging our TC series devices for telecommunications and phone capabilities, right? And here we are, 2 years later, and we're still doing big stuff like that and working with the vendor to ensure that our solution meets our needs.
Yeah, it's a great sign of the strong relationship that you've built over the years, and that it's been a mutually beneficial relationship. So then my final question, Jonas, is kind of going forward. How are you and your team at Office Depot planning for the post-pandemic shopping environment? Maybe what are some of the consumer behaviors that you believe will stick long-term, and how does that affect your operations, things that you've talked about, some of the curbside and in-store pickup? And then to my point, how might that impact what you're doing in terms of your operations planning?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, I think Jerry Smith said it really well this morning on his webcast that, we have seen a substantial shift in our customers' buying habits to digital. If you look at our buy online, pick up in store program, you're seeing over 70% improvement in sales over a 2-year period. We continue to see growth in our buy online, pick up in store program. And we recently just rolled out our 30-minute promise. So where most retailers do buy online, pick up in store within 1 hour or more, we're actually doing it in 30 minutes or less. And I think we're one of only 2 retailers nationwide right now that does a 30-minute or less promise for buy online, pick up in store. That's just a small tidbit of where we're looking, right? We want to continue placing emphasis on convenience for our customers, right? We want to continue working backwards from their needs. The change and the shift to working from home, we believe a lot of that is here to stay. So we want to make sure that, our stores and our digital experience meet the needs of that work from anywhere client. So we're going to continue to focus on convenience for them. We're going to continue to build out improved experiences from an omni-channel perspective. We're going to continue to go really lean in on curbside pickup and our 30-minute promise. And we're also guaranteeing that, right? We also have a guarantee that if we don't meet our 30-minute promise, we actually will issue you a $5 coupon. That's how confident we are that the stores can execute this program. And we want to continue to provide best-in-class customer experience and digital platforms that will continue to keep us competitive now and into the future.
Yeah, and those, not only convenience, which you've mentioned a couple times, connected. I would imagine those 2 words almost go together when you talk about the experience, and you're providing that experience across multiple channels. That connected experience, whether the Office Depot customer is interacting with the company in multiple channels, and these technologies are helping you to enable seamless experiences across those channels.
Exactly correct. And that we want to continue to lean in on all of our digital platforms, whether it's our desktop site, our M site, our mobile app, and ensuring that the experience for our client between digital and into the physical retail environment is as convenient, seamless, and connected for them as possible.
Yeah, that's a great way to wrap it up. I want to take the opportunity to thank Jonas Stillman, who is the Director of Store Systems at Office Depot, for joining us on today's episode of Total Retail Talks. Thank you, Jonas.
Thanks, Joe. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.
Join us for this year's Women in Retail Leadership Summit, being held October 11th to the 13th. Go to womeninretailsummit.com for our full event safety plan and to register to attend. We can't wait to see you there.